Okie dokie. Excuse me. Bing. It's me. And it's for music. I should actually probably leave them on, huh? I will, however, turn the volume down from myself, so I don't have to be as distracted by it. So, today, as you can tell by the title, I'm doing some game development, and it's in Godot. These are all true things that I've said so far. I don't really have a title for it so far. I've been calling it Wisest Wizard because I think that's a decent enough title so far. Yeah. So, it's kind of tricky. At the moment, so here's what I've got so far, right? It's not much. It's absolutely not much. You can look around. You're supposed to be able to walk. Oh, that's right. You have to actually tab in. So the weird thing is that you're able to, I need to, you see how it has my inputs there? Because for some reason it's kind of strange in that it will allow you to move the mouse around because it captures the mouse, but it doesn't like actually tab in until you click on it. So it still thinks I'm typing here. I can probably find a way to fix that, but I don't need to right now. Anyhow, as you can see, I've made a little inventory, and I can actually move these triangles around. That's the main thing I've done so far. You can also, of course, walk around. You can't jump yet, but you don't need to, so that's fine. The main thing is just these triangles. They can move around. And so that's a good thing. I don't think I'll get much done today, unfortunately. As much as I would like to. Gosh. So, there's just so many different things that have to manage for what I want to do. The main point I want to get across is a way for people to have these little objects that I'm going to call runes, as you see here, scroll rune. They're going to have basically an interface where they're able to basically imagine like a crafting table in Minecraft, right? You'll be able to, or I guess it's more like Little Alchemy. So, if I go to Little Alchemy, I spelled that completely wrong. Whoops. So, this is something I used to play a lot, but basically, the main thing I want to go for is to be able to open up an interface where people are able to drag and drop things like this and make new things. Not necessarily like this exactly. It'd be more like I put air here and I put dust there, and they'd be like linked but separate. Linked objects, like they'd be connected visibly, but they wouldn't combine like objects do here. They'd just be connected like this. And so that's the kind of system I need to make, which is hard because I don't know how to do that. It'd be probably best if I also was working on, so this was part of it, right? Whoops. If I started this, whoops, I clicked the wrong button. If I run here, you'll see how I have a thing that I can drag around, right? Okay, you're supposed, wait. So you left click it to pick it up and you right click it to put it back down. That was how I said it. And it works pretty well. It kind of works if you wait till it's done moving. It doesn't always work if it's still moving when you try and put it down. But that's another thing I have. And this is just a very simple draggable icon. What I need now is an interface for putting these on, basically. So what I have in the inventory UI is a control node with other UI nodes beneath it. and there's a thing that basically adds all these in, I think. Well, not really. It's very simple. But this is mostly just proof of concept for now. So what I need is a new UI thing. Do I have... I don't seem to have anything in here right now. So I think what I will do is I'll make a new scene. It's going to be a UI. We're going to call this scroll editing. Alright. And what we need, so I don't know if it actually has, so yeah, this box is the size of the screen. And in order to make this something we can do stuff in, we've got our scroll editing. We will need a child node, I think. I don't know how to do any of this, by the way. I don't know at all. Base class for all GUI containers, maybe. Maybe a container. And maybe we put it like this. Alright, we'll put it on half the screen, for example. What's this? Container by itself serves no purpose unless the script configures its children for its behavior. Don't intend to add a script to use a plain control node instead. Gotcha. Well, what my idea here, I don't know if this works, but I think I'd want to, so if I have this kind of setup, right? We do need to make a, let's see, this would go in assets, scroll, and UI. That's why I want to save it too. Oh, see, now this doesn't work. Now, why is that? What if I put this here and, delete this? Basically, what I'm after... No? How odd. What I'm after is a way to basically have this on something that I'm able to drag it with. Because if it's just by itself here, then you'll see I am able to drag it. So now I've actually got to figure out how I basically set an area it's able to be dragged in. For that, we're gonna, it's a very simple, process. We might need, let's see. Basically, it's a really simple thing where we say, if you've clicked it, do this. If you, I think what we're having an issue with, you'll notice how this script is on the top layer here. But over here, this script is not on the top layer. Right? So I think we need to see if there's a way we can add a child node. Because we need to figure out a way to basically pass the thing clicks on here to there, right? That's my thinking. I don't know if that's quite correct. Might be a control thing. Maybe it's a panel, right? Maybe it's a panel with that on it. That would make a lot of sense, right? Wait, hang on, the panel's over there. We'll have to look at this. Put the panel like that or so. Put this there, roughly. No. Interesting. So what if there is a node property here? So this is what I'm talking about. I don't know actually anything. However, here. So we're gonna have to look over here. I'm probably going to want to open a new tab and look at the tutorial I was using before to actually get that draggable thing. Also, y'all should watch Reki. I will have to watch this later. I will simply remember though. If I look at my history, smooth drag and drop.
Selected to be false. And when selected as false,
Here, I should pause this while we look at this.
physics process will no longer lerp its position, so the shape will be left
And we'll
where
watch
it is,
this
as you
at
can see here.
double
When I
speed.
click down, it moves as before, but when I let go, it gets left where it is. We're then going to create the positions where we can drop our object when it's at rest. So we're going to create a new position 2D and call it drop zone, and then attach a script to that. We're going to want to draw the area where we can drop our shape. We're going to do that by overloading the draw function. Within this, we're going to use the draw.
Oh, I got a notification really quick. It might be important. You never know these days. Looking like no. Oh, hang on. My phone's playing voices. It should be stop doing that. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
The draw circle,
What's he just
call it drop
done?
zone, and then attach a script to that. We're going to want to draw the area where we can drop our shape. We're going to do that by overloading the draw function. Within this, we're going to use the draw circle method to draw the area surrounding the shape.
As it turns out, I just never finished the tutorial, huh?
Draw circle takes 3 parameters. The first is a local coordinate of where to draw it. So if we want to draw it where this position 2D is, we'll pass in vex 2.0. The second parameter is the size of the circle to draw. Let's go with 75 pixels. And finally, we're going to want to choose the color of our shape. I'm going to pick Blanche Almond out of hat. Following this, we're going to want to choose a group for this shape. This will allow us to look up all of the possible drop-off zones in a scene. So we're going.
So this is.
Let's see here. When I click down, it moves as before, but when I let go, it gets left where it is. We're then going to create the positions where we can drop our object when it's at rest. So we're going to create a new position 2D and call it drop zone, and then attach a script.
Position 2D, call it drop zone. Okay, I can do that. We do have to kind of take things one step at a time. I am going to delete this because we don't know what we're doing yet. This is a lot of what my development is like. It's looking up tutorials for stuff I don't know how to do. And unfortunately, that is how it's going to be for pretty much the entire stream. So I apologize if you were hoping for something a bit more involved and interesting. Sip of water. Let's see. I'm going to be trying to explain my thought process as things go. It seems, I don't remember exactly what his goal is. No, this should be good. Basically, what I want to have happen is I want to have this be, so what I'm hoping for having, close this, don't save. I'm hoping to eventually have basically a menu of runes, then a area where you're able to place them down. Alright, and then you'd drag and drop them in order to create it's a conlang that I've been working on, but you'd be writing your own spells with these runes. And the premise of the game, in my mind, is a wizard school, where you're being taught how to make these spells. And that would allow you to basically have a reason to pay attention to the game, is because this is a conlang that I made up, so nobody's going to be able to figure out without my help. I don't expect it to be necessarily fun, but my goal is to create basically a parser, I guess would be the right word for it, that would be able to read these combinations of runes and decipher them into commands for the game to run. Right? So if you get the right combination of runes for a fireball, then it'll do a fireball. The only difficulty, when I say it like that, it makes me realize just that I'm making a programming language in Godot, which is tricky, but not undoable. It's just that it's a lot of work to get it to be that way, you know? Especially when I'm using I think the word is logographic script rather than a character script. Yeah, logographic, basically, It's pictures and symbols rather than letters and characters. And I mean, I guess technically each one of these is a character anyway. But my point is that making a parser for a series of images is hard. Like building Google Translate for Japanese from scratch, hard. At least that's my idea of it so far. I've done a tiny bit of work on a programming language before, so I know some of the small components that can go into it. The difficulty is for every piece of syntax I want to write, it's like a little bit of combinations of runes and then a lot of programming to make it actually function. Now, I might be doing this in the wrong order. It might be better to actually program the combinations of runes first, and then program a way to combine them. I don't know, because I don't know what I'm doing, but we're gonna follow this tutorial for right now, because this is what I want to happen in my game, is this smooth drag and drop for this will be a rune eventually. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a new scene, and this will be a, looks like they had a position 2D, so we're just gonna go other and position 2D, because I don't see a reason to. Actually, that is different. Node 2D. Marker. It's the same shape there. Hang on.
When I let go, it gets left where it is. We're then going to create the positions where we can drop our object when it's at rest. So we're going to create a new position 2D.
It says create position 2D. It seems like that's a depreciated term. It does not seem like... Oh, I should... Wait, no, I don't turn on the music again, because I'm going to turn the thing back on. Generic 2D position hint for editing. I'm going to search for... this, just in case it's changing. Because yeah, marker 2D, just as I suspected, because they have the same picture creator, and we will call it
2D and call it drop zone, and then attach a script to that. We're going to
drop zone. Fair enough. Now, hopefully I'm able to configure this to an extent. If I'm able to, because I saw in his beginning part, he's able to pick these up and put them down where he wants, which is a good thing. That means I can configure it to pick them up and put them down where I want. I'm hoping that I'm able to pick them up and put them down within a bound. So I'd be able to prevent them from being placed outside of the margins of the scroll paper. Because that's part of my flavor, is that I'd have them be putting runes on the paper. So grand ambition would be to make it a multiplayer combat, where players will create their own spells and fight with them. And I have a couple different classes wherein, for example, you might have a cleric who has syntax that speaks to like a higher power, like a D&D cleric has a deity they worship. So the cleric class in this game would have syntax that is more like a poem or a prayer. Then you'd have a mage class, which speaks to, which is mostly just like the default class. Mage, wizard, kind of similar. I feel like mage, well, base class would be wizard, because that's what I want it to be. That's why I'm calling it Wisest Wizard so far. Then once you have your base class of wizard, you'd be able to choose to be a cleric where you worship a deity. I'd imagine the benefits would be more readable syntax, possibly. Not necessarily English characters, of course. I just mean that you'd be given certain lines that you could repeat, or you'd be given books that you could read too. We'll worry about all this later. But one thing I thought would be interesting would be if you could have a sword, for example, that you could put runes on instead of just the scroll. So maybe your class would be like the warrior mage, who has a weapon with slots, not necessarily slots, but space to write a spell on. And you'd only have space for one spell. or something like that. And whoever can figure out the best configuration for the sword wins, I suppose. Or maybe I'll have to figure all this out later. I'm just speculating right now. I'm talking about my goals and my plans. It's nothing concrete because I'm not good at planning. If I were good at planning, then this would be very detailed, step-by-step process for knowing exactly what I need to do. I would have figured all that out already. And then the other thing, like my main goal is to get my script making done. Right? I need to make it so that I can put so right now, a scroll has an array of runes. This will change because what I need is each scroll rune. So there's going to be, so a scroll rune has a bunch of different, my main goal is to blow up and act like I don't know nobody. You understand, Chucky. Basically, the scroll itself so far doesn't have very many properties, but it will have more in the future. Mostly related to storing runes. But the runes themselves, hang on. I'm probably going to want to change these. My first idea was I'd give each rune a couple of slots where they could place other runes on. But it will be better if I don't do that. For now, each one will have this rune's name, the rune's texture, the rune's ID, and this ID is going to be how I do most of my creating meanings, because it'll be much easier to just like say, okay, rune 0 plus rune 1 equals rune 32 or something like that. Because then I can do it a little more like Little Alchemy does, and in Little Alchemy, when you combine two things, they make a different thing. I can replicate something like that in here by combining two rune IDs and making them basically have a new texture. It'll be a lot of textures if I do it that way. But if I basically say, okay, combine two runes, make the next rune, that might be best. But this is something I'm really indecisive about, because it's probably better to keep them as separate runes, right? Because if I keep them as separate runes, then they can be edited more. If I combine them, then I have to create another system in order to separate them. It wouldn't be necessarily a separate system. It'd be the same system, but related and different. Basically, I'm thinking if I make them into a different rune, then I'd have to make them able to be separated somehow. I'm thinking I can have them bookmark runes, and then if you grab a rune from the bookmarks bar, it wouldn't be able to be edited. So a lot of these things will have rune forms, but if you're combining things in a way that creates a rune, you'd be able to edit them. I don't know if I'm making any sense. We're gonna get back to following the tutorial. That's drop zone.
Want to draw the area where we can drop our shape.
He called his with an underscore and lowercase. That's probably sensible. It works for me at least.
Our shape. We're going to do that by overloading the draw function within this.
And they say, attach your script. Hang on.
So we're going to
What do you call it?
Call it drop zone, and then attach a script to that. We're going to want to draw the area where we can drop our shape. We're going to do that by overloading the draw function within this.
Okay, yeah. Just call it dropzone.gd. Then get rid of all these. Sends marker 2D. It's the same thing. Let's see.
This, we're going to use the draw circle method to draw the area surrounding the shape. Draw circle takes 3 parameters. The first is...
So, I don't know if I mentioned before, but what I want to accomplish here is a drop zone is a little ambiguous. I don't know quite what it means for them just yet. But my thinking is that if I can make the drop zone on the rune itself, right? So that each rune will have a zone around it where you're able to place another rune. Then the rune you place on it will be behind it slightly. And then, here. I know. I can give you an example. I mentioned in Reki's Discord a bit ago, in the Hobbies channel, how you write the word ghost, right? That'd be this here. As you can see, it's kind of complicated because my goal when starting this was to make it a very simple shapes, because I thought that having simple shapes would create cool looking things, and it does. Here we have a lot of different examples of what runes look like, and also the grammar itself. These brackets are sort of for, so originally, very start, I had them going, basically everything was on top of each other layered, but then I decided I wanted to make it more horizontal, which is much better, by the way. I don't have pictures at the moment of the old version, but this is better, trust me. But different things will be nested inside of each other to create new meanings. So, for example, I don't prefer to give out spoilers about it, but it'll help you guys understand a bit what kind of thought processes go into it. Most of the shapes basic shapes are for questions, right? The most basic shapes are for questions. So a triangle is a question of who. A circle is a question of why. Then over here with this semicircle, there's two different two basic different semicircles for where and when. And then there's a different one for how, I think. I've forgotten a little bit. I have it all written down in my book. But then once you've gotten those basic questions, there's a bit more complex things. This symbol here, which looks kind of like it'd be a who plus a when, that is a symbol denoting time. There's, I think, 2 or 3 basic ones denoting time. One's for present tense and one's for past tense. I guess present tense is kind of like non-past tense, but it's mostly present tense. This here, I call it the dough stick because I thought it sounded nice, and it does, and I like it, and it's going to keep being called that. You'll notice in, where did I leave it? Here. Dough stick. You'll notice that dough position probably isn't going to be used, but the dough stick is a, I can go back here to show you. It basically gives more context. My eyes widened a lot because I'm talking animatedly, I suppose you could say, is an accurate term for it. But basically, the dough stick provides additional context to a particular rune. And, for example, this rune, this is a semicircle with a divided sign in it. You're only ever going to really see a couple different things inside of runes. You'll see the X, which usually just means it's like a basic thing to know. Like a who with an X inside it is basically saying a person, right? Not necessarily the concept of a living person. That's a different thing. Like a person's body is a different thing from just the concept of a person, right? But the X is sort of like the generic of it. Then you'll have like the square for where. No, square is a thing, right? So a square with an X in it is a thing. And so this triangle here, it's a different kind of triangle. That's something else, is different things might have the same shape, but because of the different thing inside of the shape, it's a different concept. So even though these are both triangles, this triangle for who, and this triangle actually denotes possessiveness. So this is this symbol here is for time. These two are together. You just have to know that. You just have to know that these are one symbol, not two symbols. And this dough stick denoting time in the first. I'm pretty sure this is time generically rather than present or past. I can't remember. Yay, Shay Wizard game. Hi, Raina. So I'm explaining a little bit about my script that I'm going over, because I'm trying to explain why it's a challenge for me to make it in Godot, right? And the reason, hang on. I was going over the dough stick. You'll see how I have an integer for the dough stick here. The dough stick is a number between 1 and 8. You see how there's a dough stick here and there's a dough stick here. This semicircle is different from this semicircle and this semicircle, and you can kind of tell because they have, this one has a plus, that one has a upwards dash. So the upwards dash and the horizontal dash are two different ones. This one is when, and side to side is where, I think. And you'll notice over here, this one is saying up there is a side to side one. That's how you know that this bigger semicircle is a where semicircle. And then up from that is a action character. So that's how you know that. So, to kind of go over, like, you can see that this altogether is a word for a ghost. And the reason for that is, so this first one is the character for a soul. And the reason for that is it's a who inside of a why. And why person is the concept I have for like the mind, the thinking mind. And then another why around that is the concept of a soul or energy. Because why person, is sort of like another set of philosophy. I don't remember exactly what my thinking was at the time, but it was long enough ago that it's become a standard and I've run with it. Then this character here, it's a pentagon, I believe, above a semicircle with a plus, and that denotes manner, right? So whenever you see this, it's going to be indicating that something is doing something in a certain way. And so this soul, or energy, is in the manner of, so this here is the time with a dough stick of 1, and time with a dough stick of 1 is always going to refer to day, and you'll see that this here is the same symbol as over here, so you know this is soul, and this triangle with the 1 point on it is possessiveness, so the day's soul here, so this is the sun, right? And then there's a little syntax for giving something, and that's for a, here I can actually go like this, and then here if I go like this, I think I can draw on it. Yeah, so if A is giving something, or I guess this is technically a person character, but you'd want to be doing another possessiveness and then B over there-ish. That's not the best example of it, but basically this format is for giving something. So the day is giving something to what's over here, right? And that's why they're in brackets, is because all this is representing A and all this is representing B, and in the middle is what's being given. And you'll see that it's a symbol for energy again, or a soul. So this, we already talked about how this is for day. Then we have more energy, possessiveness of. Then we have not with 2 circles, but just with 1, which means that this is related to the mind or philosophy. Then we have a where, you can tell because it's a semicircle with a horizontal dash, and it's an action. So if we have a philosophy where action, that's not necessarily what I meant for it to be at the time. When I say it like that, it's not quite right. But basically, the idea behind it was that it would be sight, right? So your mind is on the action or something. I don't know exactly, but basically this is sight, and the energy of sight is light, if I remember this correctly. And so the sun is giving the light to this here. And this here is the symbol. So we have 2 semicircles making a full circle, and then another 2 semicircles making a full circle. And you have plus, minus, plus, divided. And plus on a semicircle is not the same as this plus. It's technically the same, but it's not the same. It's comparison, usually, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't have my book with me. I'll need to grab it in a second. But I'm pretty sure that plus on a semicircle is for a comparison. So comparison, and we talked about how the vertical dash there, as opposed to the horizontal one, is a when. So a comparison plus when, plus comparison plus, when it's a divided sign, that's superlative. So a lot of these are axiomatic, right? Not all of these are logical. It's basically me saying, what combination of symbols can I just say means this, right? And it's not like, oh, these concepts put together always mean this. I just say some things put together make these things. And then, once I have those, I say, now that I have these concepts solidified, how can I combine them in order to make other concepts? And that's why it's so big here, is because I've decided to define a ghost as all of this, right? This diamond with a vertical in it is for the proper noun. So you know that this is the proper version of something, right? Rather than a generic. And that's why it's a ghost specifically, rather than just a, all this. I don't remember exactly. It doesn't matter. Anyways. So, these two, these four together is the symbol I decide. You are making game? Yeah, I am. Here, I'll show you what's actually programmed so far. It's really not much. I'm explaining what I'm trying to do next, right? I can walk around right now. I can open up this little inventory menu and I can move these around. Nice? Yeah. I decided I'd stream it today because I'm interested in doing it right now. I'm explaining through all this right now. I've explained through a lot of it already. If you have a particular question about it, I can answer it. But I have talked about it quite a bit already. So it might be better to move on. Hi, Grace. I was just about to say, the semicircle with the divide sign in it is a superlative. And a superlative with the dough stick of 2. So for those who just got here, the dough stick is this black square with a dash on it. It can have up to 8 dashes. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this provides additional context to the thing it's attached to. This dough stick of 1 attached to these 2 symbols, which together are just a time symbol, kind of. So these 2 together are for day. And that's just an example. A dough stick over superlative of 2. So superlative with dough stick of 2 means not, essentially. So basically, with a implied superlative of 1, with a lot of superlatives of 1, you can just write regular superlative because it's the most of something. With a dough stick of 2, it usually means not something. And then with superlatives, you don't really ever need to write more than 2. I haven't needed to, at least. If I think of a use case for it, I can. But that is not the point right now. The point right now is that we have these 4 symbols together, technically. I write them as 2 symbols, technically, because I have circle, circle, and then I just put some more stuff in them. But it's really 4 symbols. I make them 2 symbols. And then with the not changing is the way you'd interpret this, right? And so you have change and not, right? And so altogether, what I've been explaining this for who knows how long at this point, you have the soul or energy that's in the manner of the sun, which gives light to something unchanging. And it's a proper, so you know it's like a thing rather than like a generic thing you're talking about. And I say all this together represents a ghost. Right? And the reason for that is because all this in here, everything inside these outer brackets is what I've defined as the ground. So a soul in the manner of ground, well, that kind of sounds like a tethered spirit. And that is kind of what a ghost is, you know? So that's where this comes from. And that's kind of why it's so hard for me to make all of this in Godot, is because I don't know how. I simply do not know how. But let it not be said that I'm not trying. A lot of this stream is going to be watching me either explain things that are probably not in need of explanation, or it's going to be watching tutorial. And right now, it's back to watching tutorial. Where was the... We had this, so we had function, draw. Then they were going and saying, draw a circle. Excuse me. Whoops. Goodness.
First is a local coordinate way to draw it. So if we want to draw it where this position 2D is, we'll pass in vector 2.0.
Vector
The second
2.0.
parameter is the size of the circle to draw. Let's go with 75 pixels. And finally, we're going to choose the color of our shape. I'm going to pick Blanche Almond out of hat.
Blanche Almond, okay. So apparently that's just one of the colors they have built in Godot. But yeah, draw circle has 3 parameters. You need to have where it is, and most locations in 3D games are not represented by coordinates, they're represented by vectors. Not always. Sometimes. I might be wrong. Kind of. I've forgotten. It's been a while. Anyway, they say vector 2.0. This is not... Oh, whoops. This is not like a number 0. This is a matrix with just zeros in it. Alright? And it'd be a matrix for a 2D vector. Then the radius, they said 75 pixels. I'm just going to follow the tutorial exactly. Once I have a framework I can mess with, I will mess with it. But I got to get the framework first. I don't know if framework is the right word. And they said color.blanched almond, huh? And that's kind of silly, isn't it? And then you see the red goes away because now it has every parameter it needs in order to be a valid function. So I am also sorry that I don't have music going at the same time. It's that while I'm playing this, I don't want to also have music because it's distracting. But I bounce back and forth so many times that I always forget to turn the music back on. So I apologize for that.
Following this, we're going to want to choose a group for this shape. This will allow us to look up all of the possible drop-off zones in a scene. So we're going to add a group and call it zone. And now for our finishing touches, we're going to need to implement a select.
So now, this is probably going to be a difficult thing. Add group called zone. So this, my thinking was that I would repurpose the drop zone script and code in order to make it so that you can put a rune on a rune and drop them in that way. I'm not so certain that that will work if it's requiring a zone. I'm also going to have to make a factory script for the runes themselves once I'm able to place them in a scroll area. It doesn't matter. Right now I'm holding on for 15 more minutes so I can use the bathroom at the 1 hour break. It'll be fine. They said, what were they saying?
Select and deselect method. Our select method is going to iterate.
Okay, so function select. I can do that. Hang on. Whoops. Can I? I can. Then here we go for
to iterate over every zone in our scene, and it's going to deselect it. And then after that, it's going to apply a selected color. We're going to go with web maroon, and we're going to apply that to our modulate field. Then in our deselect method,
okay,
all we need to do is set our modulate field to be empty, which is done by setting it to be white. Now we can save what we've done and create a new scene.
Hang on. I'm going to leave this here
Then in our
so I
deselect
can
method, all we
just
need to do
copy
is
it.
set our modulate field to be empty, which is done by setting it to be white. Now we can save what we've done and
Okay, so get all the nodes in the tree that are in this zone, or in this group called zone, and deselect them, then modulate color.webMove. Alright. Let's see. It would be get tree, I believe. Not get nodes in group zone. And then we say it was file.deselect. I believe. Yes, indeed. Then we, outside of that for loop, we modulate color.width. Modulate equals. Okay, not a function. Color.web. Maroon. Cool, yeah. I'm gonna separate these a little bit more. You select, and then it just is modulate color.y. Okay. Awesome. We'll save that in a second.
and create a new scene for testing, and this is going to contain our drag and drop.
So we want Joson touches. Okay, we will save this script there for now. Then what were you saying?
Drag and drop object and a couple of the drop zones we just created. And if we run that, we can see we get our 2 circles being drawn, but they're not hooked up to our drag and drop object yet. So let's dive straight into that. In order to implement this, we're going to
Alright.
empty, which is done by setting it to be white. Now we can save what we've done and create a new scene for testing, and this is going to contain our drag and drop object and a couple of...
So I'm gonna have to repurpose some of this code once I realize what functions do what exactly, which won't take long because already we're seeing these will basically just change the color of the thing. I don't quite understand it. The function for, to my understanding, underscore prefixed functions are the built-in ones. And so these are ones we've designed. So we're going to have to create the behavior that puts a child in the zone, I think. Then we're creating a new scene, a new node 2D just for testing, I think. So I will go ahead. We've saved already, so I'm gonna new scene, 2D scene. Then
the drop zones we just created. And if
2 drop zones and a node 2D. Alright. That's what we want to do. Where'd drop zone go? I lost it. Darn, it doesn't tell me. Where would I have put it? Promise I didn't mean to lose it. Dropzone.dg. Oh, I see. Both got put in the scripts. That makes no sense. I'm gonna be honest with you. I will fix it later, though. It will be fine. Then we want it... So, they put in 2 drop zones, and they're draggable, I believe. And if we run this... Oh, well, we'll just put this in levels for now. As it is technically. I did forget to move around these. So in here, we go view. Put you there. Put you there. So now, we have the things and they exist. For them...
And if we run that, we can see we get our 2 circles being drawn, but they're not hooked up to our drag and drop.
Their circles are much bigger than mine. Or they've zoomed in. And their icon is smaller. Or their icon is smaller, that is. We will pretend that it doesn't matter, because it doesn't. And this isn't even a final thing anyway. This is just a, testing thing.
Drag and drop object yet. So let's dive straight into that. In order to implement this, we're going to need to set up a couple variables at the top of our drag and drop script. We're going to set up rest point, which is going to store the position that we're going to return to at rest, and then the list of all of our rest nodes, which are all the...
Okay. As much as I would like to just keep going now, I do kind of really need to use that. So I will be right back, okay? I'm gonna do my little ads now, because might as well while I'm taking a break. I'll also put on the music for you. Be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I see Ryan has some fun emotes there. We've got obviously my fun one called Gay Dummy, because that's what it looks like. Then we have Align Ballet, or Alignal Ballet? No, either way, it is cute. I like it. Anyway, I'm gonna pause this again. It would be really nice to have background music the whole time, but it does get distracting, unfortunately. So what was he saying? We were here, where he is.
All the objects in the group zone.
Then in the draggable. So his is different from mine because I want mine to work differently. So I made it different. That's how you do that. But it does not mean
Zone. So then in our ready function, we can do exactly that. We can get all the nodes in the group zone and assign that to be our rest nodes list. And then we can set our rest point to be the first item in that list's global position. We can then also run the select method on that to color it appropriately. If we now run this, so you can see it getting colored appropriately, but we're still not returning to that point at rest. We're going to return to that point at rest.
hang on. So we're gonna open up our script, which would be the draggable. And they say to add two variables called rest zone and a variable named, what was it? Rest point and rest nodes. Different, but similar. There we go. And then we put in the ready function. And this is basically like before you start doing things. Like once it's about to execute everything, then it checks for all these rest nodes equals, and you said get tree dot get nodes and group zone dot function dot get nodes and group zone. Right. Then rest point is rest nodes of 0 dot global position. Okay. Equals bum our rest nodes 0 dot global position. Is that correct? No, it is not a function. Then they got one more thing.
We can then also run the select method on that to color it appropriately. If we now run
Rest node select nodes 0 select. Also, I'm actually not certain how I know which. Oh, interesting. So as a property of drop zone here, I've made it part of zone. I understand. I think. So now when you do this, dang it. Hang on, what did I do wrong? Dot select.
we assign that to be our rest nodes list, and then we can set our rest point to be the first item in that list's global position. We can then also run the select method on that to color it appropriately.
Is actually a function. Coolia boolia. Now we have what he has. Cool. So what I'm gonna, it is quite a bit of work to figure out all of this. I'm just doing the one thing I can actually think of. There's definitely a better process for all these things. I'd like to have, I mean, honestly, I'd like to have it all working already, but I don't.
Appropriately. If we now run this, you can see it getting colored appropriately, but we're still not returning to that point at rest. We're going to return to that point at rest by adding an extra bit to our physics process. In there, we're going to say if we're not selected, we're going to lerp our position towards our rest point rather than our global mouse position. And also going to do that at a slightly slower rate for aesthetic reasons. Now we're going
Oh, okay. So they're putting it to a rest point, huh? Hang on. Stop that. That works for me. So I'd go into the scripts, draggable. If selected, move it to there. Then it's else, move it to rest point at 10 times delta. Okay. This probably isn't going to be something I keep long term, but I'm following tutorial, so I might as well follow tutorial, you know? Hold position, rest point, 10 times delta. That should be correct. And it is.
Now we're going to want to update to actually use the rest point if we drop our trackable object within range. So we're going to add a bit more to our input function. In here, we're going to keep track of the shortest allowable distance, which is 75 pixels, as we defined when we were drawing the circle in our rest zone.
I don't quite. Our shortest is just 75.
And then we're going to loop over every item in our rest nodes. We're then going to find distance from our current object to the rest node we're looking at. And we're going to find that using the distance2 method. So we're going to do global position dot distance to child dot global position. And
I'm trying to think through how this will help me, or if there's a way I can make this help me. We'll have to just kind of figure it out, huh? Then that's on input, huh? Input. Wait, am I even in the right place? What script are you in, buddy boy? Well, this should be the right one, because I have that. So then, input event. Oh yeah, that's this. No, it isn't. That's right, I didn't have his. Because I didn't like it. Because I want mine, so it's a bit of a, it might be a bit of a pipe dream, but I want my thing to be completely controller compatible, so that you can remap your controls to however you'd like. And I just didn't feel like coding it so that it was specifically a left mouse click. I wanted to code it so that it was a generic mouse click. And unfortunately, I couldn't think of a good way to do that in the input method. But I should be able to do it in a different way. So here, this is basically saying if the, when you let go, right, that's what this part is. When you let go, and over here, I also have when you let go. But this isn't updated every frame, whereas input is updated every frame. But this only runs once, because the input will only be the click once. So I think we do put it in the physics process. No. In the on-area 2D input. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Then what we do is we say var just distance equals 75. Then the child and rest nodes of our distance equals goal.positions.distance2. That's a fancy function. Distance squared to my mind. Pythagorean up in here. Child.global position. There. Okay.
and that will return the distance between the two objects in pixels. We can then check if our distance is less than the shortest distance we defined moments earlier. If that is the case, we're going to select that child, we're going to update our rest point to be that child's global position, and then we're going to update our shortest distance to be that new distance. The reason we use this
Okay. Distance is less than shortest. Is less than shortest distance. Child.select. Section indented block. I'm doing that. And then that is the select function. New line.
use the shortest distance approach is because it means that we don't just use the first object we come across that's within range, we will will actually set our rest point to be the most applicable circle if there's, say, overlap.
Hang on.
Is because it means that we don't just use the first object we come across that's within range, we will actually set our rest point to be the most
Okay, gotcha. So then what we do is we set the rest point to equals child dot global, whoops, global position. Then we say shortest distance is the near distance, which makes sense. All right. I don't know if this was going to be great for me.
most applicable circle if they're, say, overlapping and one's closer than another. And just like that, the effect is done. If we have a look at it in action, we can drop our shapes and they will update to use a circle if it's within range, and if we drop it outside of the range of any circle, it will return to the last rest point. Finally, we want to look at our mouse position as we drag the
Okay. So if I run this, it should do exactly what that did. That's good. So, what we can use this for. If I put this over here, what happens? It zooms there, huh? Gotcha. That's actually good. That is actually good. So what I want to happen once I finish this tutorial is I want to figure out a way I can put two... So I want every draggable... So basically this here, I want to have an attached rest position that it itself ignores, right? So I don't want it to go to its own rest position all the time, obviously. I need it to just discount that one when it's going through its list. Then I need it to say, I need other draggable objects to say that they can go to that rest position. And then I need an offset. I need an offset. What I need to happen is I need to have a object, once it's set this rest position, I need to say, go to an acceptable distance near it instead. Now, ideally, the shape of the box that they're going to, right? It would be exactly matching the shape of the room. I don't think that's very doable, but if I could have that, it would be great. And then once I have that, I'd say instead of going to the center of this rest position, go to the edge of that area, and then just whichever point on that edge is closest. Because then, hopefully, that would allow people to put things along the edge of it however they want. The way I had here. You'll notice how I have the dough stick up there, I have this going that way. I want people to be able to put these things in whatever direction they so desire. Because that'd be, ideal. That would be the best. That would be how I want it to be. Unfortunately, that is a little tricky. Not the most tricky. Because I can say for a particular... So once I figure out how to do everything, then it'll be fine. But once one of these dragon ones has its own box, I can say if this equals my child, do not count it in my list of rest points. However, I also need it to not have a rest point while it's in the menu, because the way I'm picturing it right now, you'd have basically a list of all your runes and bookmarked runes, and that you'd be able to drag them from there to the scroll, which would make it have a rest point suddenly. So, and then once you bring it back over there, it would no longer have a rest point again. Because that base, and then I'd delete it, essentially. Or maybe I say once you click it, it instantiates a new one. And then if you drop it in the menu area, it deletes it. If you drop it in the scroll area, it doesn't. Now, I don't know what would happen if I suddenly added a new thing with a rest point closer. What happens for that, I wonder? It's hard to say. It just is hard to say. However, this is a good start for getting stuff.
drag the object around, and this is very easy to do. No 2Ds have a method. of the range of any circle, it will return to the last rest point. Finally, we want to look at our mouse position as we drag the object around, and this is very easy to do. Node 2Ds have a method built into them called lookat, and what lookat will do is it will point your node 2D towards a vector 2 you've passed in. So if we pass in the global mouse position as a parameter to look at.
Well, I'll put that in for now. I don't know if I want to keep that forever, but it is very simple, as they say. So we will say look underscore at global underscore mouse, the global mouse position. Is that all? It's always pointing down, huh? Oh, it only goes where I first click. I don't like it.
Our node 2D will point at the mouse. So in physics process, when it...
That is because that's in physics process. I'm silly. And I put mine in on input. Yeah. So, bing, bing. Now like that. That's a little better. Right. This isn't bad, necessarily. I don't know if this is a behavior I want to keep. But I'm going to leave it for now, because it's not detrimental. Oh, that's weird. Are you going to do that again? Huh. Excuse me. Don't know why it does that. Well, I kinda do. It's because integer, like, its floating point numbers is basically it. Stuff like that. Not exactly. I'm lying. It's just that it's not exactly on the point that it's being put at. Basically, the mouse was at a position that the thing was not.
When it's selected, we can do that. We can look at get global mouse position, and it will be nice, and it will work as we want. However, when we let go of it, we want it to return to its rest position, which is at a rotation of 0. And the way we do that is in the else clause of this physics process, we want to lerp our rotation. However, if you lerp a rotation, it won't do quite what you want. There's a special version of lerp built in specifically for angles, and that's lerp angle, which I'm going to talk to at a bit more length at the end of this video as an Easter egg. But that's all you need to do. You need to set your rotation to be equal to lerp angle, and pass in your parameter, your first parameter as being your rotation, and the second parameter as being 0.
Okay, that's easy. I like that. Rotation equals lerp angle rotation, make it to 0 and 10 times delta. I'm curious how this looks. Okay, that's nice. Yeah. Alright, so it'll always orient itself upwards. Which might not always be proper. If, and I have a finger pointed at my head right now. So I'm going to enable. No, I'm not going to enable. But just know that I'm pointing at my head because I'm thinking. If I have a rune attached to this rune. Like, for example, this arrow here. If I have this, and I'm pointing at my head again, if I have this so that it always orients itself upwards after being attached here, it will be pointing not the way I want it to be. I need it to sometimes be able to be pointed. I think, and hear me out on this, what we should try and do is go instead of either of these things, right? We're going to go into project settings and go to input map, and we've got a couple things here already, but we're gonna add a new action called rotate rune. So we will manually rotate the rune. And I think, do we want it, so we can either have it be 360-degree rotation, or we can have it be like 16 points. You know, 8 or 16. Probably don't need more than 8. In the real world, we probably don't need more than 8. But what I'm thinking, just to be nice, to be kind, I think we will bing. Let's see if this works how I think it works. Well, hang on. That kind of does help. But basically, I want this to be on the R key for now. And these, I'm going to make it in the distant future. I'm going to make it so that you can put these to whatever buttons you want. So that's why they're at these instead of just being hard-coded as particular thingy things. So we're on the drag rule script right now. If selected, hang on. We're going to want the input process for this, I think. And keep in mind that I don't know what I'm doing, right? That's an important thing to remember, that I don't know what I'm doing at all. Our event equals input event action. Function signature doesn't match the parent. The parent signature is input event. Gotcha. So it instead it's input event. So now, hang on. Let's see what they have input, and it's just event. Okay, so they call their event here event. All right, that works for me. And we don't need to declare it again. In fact, we already have it defined as well. So we'll get rid of everything there. If event is so if event is input event action, I think. Then I think we can say if event is action, no, input. Hang on, I have this in my other script, my player script, my bingle bing bing bing. Here we say input dot get mouse mode, input just pressed. Process. Input mouse motion. Okay. Then we'll say instead physics process works if input dot is action just pressed rotate rune then we're going to want to have a new variable for rotating, and it's going to be false by default, similar to how selected is. Then we will say here rotating equals true. Then, well, actually, instead of just true, we're going to alternate it to the opposite one. Hi, Anti-Genius. Good to see you. We're going to say this is the opposite. So, in most programming languages, when you put the exclamation point, or it's called a bang sometimes, when you put this in front of a Boolean variable, it negates it. So if it's true, it'll be false, and if it's false, it'll be true. Then up here we will say if selected, and then if rotating, then we will have it look at the mouse, the way they said. Look at get global mouse position. Get global mouse position. So let's see if this works. I've been reading for a bit. Figured I'd say hi. Well, it's good to see you. I did forget one particular thing. That does work how I wanted it to, luckily. I did forget to start up my bot. I know y'all don't need it too often, but a couple people do like running commands. There we go. Should be going now, just in case anyone needs it. But what I've done just now is I've basically... Oh, hang on. I need to make it so that when it's not selected, it does not reset that rotation. No, when it, hang on, else if it's not selected, rotating equals false. Like so. Now when I click it, I can rotate it by pressing this. But let's actually say that you can either be rotating or moving, but not both. So if selected, then we'll say if rotating, do this, and then we'll put an else statement here. This way, they will no longer be able to both move and rotate at the same time. And that's a good thing. That is exactly what I want. So now I can watch, and then I start rotating, and then it's stationary. And then I press R again, and now it's like this. And now I can right click and it stays like this. So now I can choose what direction this is pointing. Very, very awesome. And you'll notice I can't disable its selection while it's rotating. That's fine. Now, the only problem here is that I do, and my head tilting so much forward on that. So silly. The problem here is that I don't always want it to be zooming back to there. You know, what I want is for it to zoom only when it's within that distance. I'm going to finish this tutorial, and then I'm going to see if I can make that happen.
Being 0, and then the rate at which you want to return to rest. And just like that, we have looked at it in action. We can drag our sprite around, and it will point at our mouse. And that's everything. We can now go to some examples of it in action. Here is a rendition of a painting by Seb McKellen called Topplegeist, which is playing as a puzzle. If you put the candle in the right spot, Topplegeist topples it. And of course, my handheld console repair game I mentioned at the start. I'll show you a few more tools that actually use this feature. The screwdriver points towards positions. Whenever it's dragged over a screw, it unscrews it, and the toothbrush can be used to clean parts of the kit, and cartridges can be moved around as well. These drag I mentioned. Here I'm going to use some Linux magic to go ahead and find the lerp angle function within the C++ of Godot itself. So I'm going to quickly grep where it is, and then we're going to dive into the mathfuncs.h file, and we can see what it does behind the scenes. So it does two very important things. First of all, it moduluses the angle, so it's within the range of positive and negative tau. For anyone who knows using radians, you can tell that means it locks it to be within the minimum maximum angle and the largest maximum angle, and then it calculates the quickest direction to travel to get towards that angle, and it moves itself in that direction using that distance equals f9 on 219.
So the other thing I was saying, I only actually want it to move back to the thing if it's close enough to that thing, right? So the rest position, I think we say differently. It's going to be a little tricky. I'm not quite sure how yet, but basically, I want it to only zoom back there if it's within that distance. I don't think it'll be actually that hard. Else, we actually just say exactly what we said up here. Excuse me. So, I think really we can go like if global distance, global position dot distance to rest point dot global position is less than 75. That is the opposite. Then you can lerp to it when you are put down. What happens now, I wonder? Oh. Invalid access to property or key global position on a base object of type vector 2. That means rest point is actually not what I thought it was. Fair enough. Now I can restart. And you'll notice I can put it down anywhere. Then if I put it down here or here, that's actually exactly what I wanted. You see. Because now I can put it down anywhere, but then if I put it down close enough to the circle, it snaps in place. That's good. That's what I wanted. Now let's see if I can have it if I can have it do a particular thing. So first I want to add in another draggable. Right? I want to see what happens with this. We have one. I'll rotate this one so we can tell them apart. Well, it's fine. Oh, I forgot I had to turn off the rotating for it to actually allow. Unless I... How interesting. But basically, here's what I want to do. I want to try putting a drop zone as a child of it. Aha, so now these two move together. So when I move this, those don't move together. Okay. Alright. First things first. I want to figure out how to get them to... So, if selected, it moves to this, and I actually want it to move to the nearest point on that circle. Well, actually not even necessarily a circle. But it'd be easiest to do a circle for now. But I want it to be able to be any shape. So for example, if I made the drop zone, which is actually a script, can I have it draw a square? Is that as easy as I'd expect? Draw a square not found? Okay. Draw, ellipse, maybe? Darn. So it might only be circles. Hang on. Draw a shape. Godot. Draw function is called only once. Okay. What we'll probably do, actually. Oh, this is big brain. We don't need to draw at all. What we need... I wonder if we can... Okay, well... I need it to be a texture. All right, and we can use this texture. This was originally going to be a point. How to... Draw texture. And I know this is a circle texture, but it is... It'll be fine. I just need to do a shape. Because I'm drawing in 2D. Texture equals value. Huh? Hmm. Well, I suppose we will copy this and see if we can make it work for me. We will. Is there a hashtag in this one? It is. We'll comment all that out for now. Then we can see how that is a texture that is missing. We can put this PNG in there. So now what does it look like? What happens? Okay, so that's what that is. Good. And if we're here instead, and we look, what happens? Are those just really small? Or what gives? Oh ho, so it does in fact modulate the color like I expected it to. Those are still connected. Oh? Alright. They don't go to them anymore. I can't be too surprised, I guess. So, well, actually, it shouldn't matter what's in here. It should not matter what's in here. Drop zone, in terms of this. Transform, perhaps? We'll put this back in there. Because this is just a location. Right? So it should not matter. I'm gonna remove this from being a child, though. Oh, they don't exist now, huh? Why is that? It's because... Huh. Well, anyways, that doesn't seem like it's the right approach. If I draw it now. Yes, it's as it is. First problem is that each one needs its own rest. Gosh, what am I doing in Godness? I don't even understand it half myself. So, let's see. There is... If I go here, and I say that you should make a drop zone a child of this, naturally, by nature. What happens? Because these are in the zone, and these aren't, so... Oh, there should not be two. I accidentally did Control D, I think. So then the Dragables will have their own drop zone. We'll delete those. We'll run this. Okay, so they've overlapped now. Okay, that's a problem. The thing is, I need a drop zone to be able to be anything, basically any shape, and I need it to be on the border. The first step of that, I think, is to be able to put it on the border of a shape, right? So we'll put in a drop zone here, and we will just have the one thingy thing, right? That is actually not what I want it to be. And we will go bing, and we will go put that over there, perhaps. don't matter too much beyond it not being there. Alright, it's actually on top now, interestingly. That's interesting. Why? If I do it like this, is it now the other way? It is. Fascinating. I didn't expect that. I did not expect that at all. The order they are in the tree affects the rendering layer. Huh. What do you know? Anyway, what I need is for this to start going to the edge of that circle. Alright? And so what it needs is a shape, huh? I think it'd be a node 2D and a collision shape 2D. Is that right? Collision polygon 2D. Only as a child of area 2D, static body, rigid body. I think we add a area 2D, then area 2D. Then we need to add a node 2D, then we go collision polygon 2D, like so. And empty collision polygon 2D has no effect on collision. So basically, this will be a circle. And we will put, oh, hang on. Didn't expect this. Oh, okay, fascinating. I kind of expected it to be different. Alright. Okay, I don't know how any of this works, so bear with me on this. What I want, like, if I can define a collision polygon for each rune, that'd be great. You know, that'd be just swell. I don't actually know how, necessarily. Does just having the collision polygon there do anything? I guess that wouldn't help me. Need this one. On its own, it does not. But can I tell this to find the child? Alright, so if I go here, rest point versus rest nodes. Rest nodes is that list there. Which means child at global position. For child and rest nodes, then child dot how to access children of nodes in Godot. That's what I need to know. I need to tell it to access the polygon shape and get node with the name of the node. Alright. Get node. And it would, the node that we're looking for is shrimply called collision polygon 2D. Yes, like show. Then got get nearest point on a collision polygon 2D godot. That's what I want to know. Let's see what this says. This could be good.
Hello everyone, in this tutorial I will be showing you how to use the polygon collision in Godot 4. So let's say you have an oddly shaped sprite or object that you would like to not use box collisions and have a more natural type of collision for. All you would do is go to here, collision polygon 2D, and down here, make sure you have your mouse selected and the add point option, and you can click. And every time you click, it will add a new vertex, and you can just go around clicking all of the points where you like the collision to be, and then once you're done, just click the other one to finish the loop. As you can see, we have
I might have done this weird. And I've probably done this weird. So if we look here, it's area 2D dot. Hang on, it might need to be. Area 2D slash. Because that would denote the tree, I think. Let's see how this works. Darn. Doesn't, because it's not guaranteed to be the object. Bleh.
We have the collision generated. To move around these nodes, select this tool. You can drag around your nodes or your vertices. And to delete, just select the X tool, and you can simplify your collision. And as you can see here, since I have it applied to a rigid body, if you press play, you can see the collision works quite nicely. To add additional points, all you need to do is select a edge. You cannot select a vertex, but you can select an edge and add points that way. And now I can drag these out, like so. Anyways, I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you
Okay, that's the simple thing. What I actually need is nearest point on circle we'll start with. Closest to the kid. This works for me. Gosh. What I've got, I don't know where to. So if I put the rest, oops. Undo some of these things. Jump. Oh yeah, that is a little stream out of test command. Let's see it. Might take a second, or might have already done it. I didn't see it. Wow. Eh. I did that myself, but we'll count it. Because it should have worked. That was a big jump. Yeah. You're welcome. What I need to happen... I don't think that this collision polygon or any of that is going to be helpful to me. Alright. We're going to go back here. We're going to say... add another drag pole just because it's very easy to... No, not another drag pole. Another drop zone. Alright. And then we're going to put this one over there. So what I need, whoops, hang on, global position on type vector. Rest point, gotcha. Rest point is a global position. Alright. And I need to find a point 1 radius away. So it has to be a point 1 radius away from the global position. Right? 1 radius away from the global position. And then on the path between If rest point so I need a point along. It's tricky because so the global position is going to rest point, right? So assuming it's a like I know it's not technically correct, but to say the vector would be just a line pointing to each other essentially. I need a point on that line and say to stop it before it gets to this rest point. Because the rest point, because the rest point will bring it to the center. I do actually want it to be on top. Thank you very much. This point brings it to the center, right? I need it to be, if I make the thing 76 instead of 75, oh, I guess I'd be here, huh? Because 76 is easier for the math. Because a radius is less now. I did still leave the draggable with 75s. So we need to make those 76s. Excuse me. So then wait a second. Actually, I don't even want it to check if it's doing that unless it's already selected. And then we'll put that bit here. There we go. Just as I want. This way, it's not wasting that switch if it's not selected. Anyway, that should work, right? Yeah, just as I want. I need... Oh, excuse you. I need to... So as you... distance to rest point, I need to be 38 pixels away from the rest point, right? Find closest point on a circle to point between 2 points. A distance certain number of pixels away from this other thing. Find a midpoint between two vectors. A midpoint is some of them divided by 2 makes sense. Interpolation. Linear interpolation. Primary, secondary. Subtract the secondary from the primary. Okay. Now multiply by r by any factor. I don't want it to be scaled. Maybe like this. Distance to C. Uh, I love you so much, wifey. You're adorable. Now, midpoint formula. I need to. This is tricky. I need it to basically be on that circle, but not in that circle. Right? And that is tricky. Wait. Technically, we might be able to say, and dot distance to rest point is greater than 30 or so. Vector 2 and integer. But I was able to before here. Oh, I said direction 2 on accident. Okay. Distance 2. Okay. So now, when I do this, okay. That actually is exactly what I wanted, by the way. And then I increase this number to 36, because that's what I wanted to begin with. I mean, this makes perfect sense. I mean, not exactly perfect. Okay, what I need is actually big brain time. Now I say, if, hang on. I'll kind of copy this. If it is less than, or no, if it is less than 76, here, we'll actually make this just one if statement here. If it's less than 76, then we'll make it a different if statement. Then if the position is greater than 36, you can, hang on, what's wrong here? Mixed use of tabs and spaces. Boo. There you go. If it's more than 36 and less than 76, no, it's 38 actually. Then you go towards it. Go towards the middle. But if it's less than 76 and less than 38, then we push it out to the, like, out of the circle completely. No. Actually, push it to the edge of the circle. So we lerp it to from its position to a how do I do this part? Can I say like I need it to go, so there's a direction it will have towards the rest point or the rest point itself. Here, I'll just search for it. Move away from point godot. Make node move away from other node. That works for me. Away is reverse vector. Okay. So, assuming that lerp returns a vector, right? Assuming lerp returns a vector. Then, If I put in negative rest point, what happens? It's not quite what I wanted. No, not quite at all. Now we'll actually make this a more specific statement. If global position dot distance to rest point is less than 38, but only in that situation. So you'll notice how it's pushing it different distances away. That means I'm probably putting, let's try putting the negative out there instead. How's that work? It's gone. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. What I need it to do is just go the opposite direction of towards the thing. So if global position lerping to that point, it's not a vector, what is it? No, direction to is a vector for certain. Global position dot direction to a rest point. I don't exactly know which direction this is at the moment, but the opposite of it. And maybe we lerp to it actually. Lerp from global position to the opposite direction of the rest point. And then we say 10 times delta, because that's just what you do. What now? What happens here? What does it look like? That's tricky. So it is almost what I want. What if I just do it like this? So what's annoying here, right, is that when I tell it to move out of the circle, this direction is a bigger magnitude than this direction, right? So just messing with vectors is difficult. What I need to do, I think, so the direction 2 is a vector, right? It's pointing at the center of the circle. And I want it to go all away from that direction, right? So it would have made sense to lerp there. However, I don't think that quite works. Instead, we will say if goal position is less than 38, well, actually, we need it to move away, right? Right. Little position, make node repel. Maybe this helps. Maybe this is the right way to say it. Pathfinding isn't exactly what I'm after. Inverse direction. All right. How to move object in direction. I almost typed in Blender. Now 2D movement. Get vector velocity equals blah, blah, blah. Input direction So what if we say velocity is equals, okay, we'll do a little bit of this. What if we say velocity equals negative this? Velocity is not declared. Fair enough. What happens if I do it like this? Does this make any sense at all? No, I guess not. Because it's a small distance, right? Direction 2 is a vector representing a small distance. And this is a vector representing a position, which will be much larger. If I was to... So, obviously that's not going to work for me. Move an object in a particular direction. I don't want it to apply velocity, though. Oh, wait. Hang on. Velocity... Wait. If I say direction equals that. Okay, we'll just say var direction equals that. Then that'll be a vector, right? This is a vector. Move object away from object in Godot. Let's see. Linear interpolation could work. Direction is... So, my understanding, adding direction, adding center direction to global position will put us at the exact middle of the circle, right? Which means global position, if we subtract it, it puts us at the distance we want. Minus equals global position minus center direction. And then we probably want it to lerp to there. That's just my assumption. And then 10 times delta. And it's just nice and polite to space them out a little. Let's see about this. This seems like it would work, right? Good news and bad news. Because but that's good. That is almost what we wanted. Basically, or equal to 38. We didn't have a case for exactly 38, I think was the problem. No. I think it's because they're the same number. Is greater than 39. So now we'll always go to exactly 38 pixels away. I should think. No. Maybe we need a more allowance, so we'll put it at 50. Wait, hang on, I'm doing the wrong one. We'll make this one greater than or equal to 38. Or less than or equal, yeah. This is, if this is less than or equal to 38, and if this is more than 39. Let's try like that, plain and simple first. Yeah. Look at that. So now things will move to the edge of the circle. Kind of. I would kind of like the... Well, it works mostly. So, couple issues. First issue is that it's a circle. And it has to be a circle. I don't want it to be a circle all the time. But... Oh, actually, first thing I want to do. Magic numbers in your code are bad. They are not a good thing. You do not want to have magic numbers in your code. And when I say a magic number, I mean something like this 76 here. This is arbitrary. Nobody reading my code will know what 76 means. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to at port var, and I'm doing that export so I can edit it from the inspector instead of only being able to edit it from in the code. Export var yes, right, and you have to have a type, so it's just an integer. Yes, that is how I thought. So then radius as an integer. No, hang on. This is the diameter, isn't it? Actually, I'm not certain at all. If I look at the script here, we'll just make we'll go at export var size, and that is an integer. Then here we replace that magic number with size. Then if I go here, am I able to? Yes, I am. Cool. So I make the size here 76. And the size here can be 50. Sure. And when I run this, things don't work so well, obviously. But this isn't a property we want to export. This is a property we want to okay, well, hang on. So the size is going to be variable, and we know this, right? So we don't want to export it though. What we want instead is at the ready, the rest point, it's going to be different later. Tricky. Very tricky. But what I want is to say var diameter what do I want it to be? I can't have this be diameter. I need var rest sizes, and then we can have rest sizes equals rest nodes hang on. Rest here. We can, so I don't know if list constructors work the same here as they do in Python. We're gonna test it. Size for no. Child.size for child in rest nodes. Is that valid? Expected closing thing for that. Okay. What's here? Eh. Closing thing after. Here, let's search for list constructors, Godot. Because that'll be helpful. You let's see. Boom. Class objects, class constructors. Not what I was after. I for J in K. Godot. I suppose maybe I'm just trying to be too fancy with it. Rest sizes equals do for I in rest nodes rest sizes at I equals rest nodes of I dot size. And here actually we actually have to change this so that this is inside the for loop, because the choice distance will change with each thing, right? So we need to say, or rather, child, no, wait, yes, child dot size. This might have been pointless. So choice distance is child dot size, right? Then gosh, rest point is unknown, right? Rest point is child dot global position, which means I can say var rest size, I believe, and then we can say rest size here equals child dot size. And I'm hoping that size is a property that I can access. I don't actually know for sure, unfortunately. But however, I can say rest size here. And then over here we can say if it's, greater than or equal to rest size over 2. And then we'll just do math dot floor. Oh, I guess it's just floor, huh? Let's double check. Rounds down. Yeah, good. Then up here we do floor rest size. Oh, whoops. Rest size over 2 plus 1. There. this will work. Probably. Let's see. No. Oh, right. Rest size will start out as 0. Okay, good. Good. Good, 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 good. So, it is getting late, and I do need to end. The one... No. I'll do it on my own time or later. I'm going to end stream now. What I'm going to do next is make it so that when you are selecting this, you can scroll up or down to change the size of this thing. Alright? And that'll be good. That'll be quite good. And then that'll be most of the things I need. However, for now, we gotta go and read out. Oh, goodness. Oh, hey, Suit Scheme is up. Oh, I hate hiccups so much. We're gonna go into them. Okay. I hate hiccups. Alright, we're gonna go into them in just a second. Did my headphones disconnect? Or is it just quiet? Hang on. Well, I'm gonna read them. Hopefully I can hear them. Yeah, no.